Am I the asshole for calling my friend an idiot for wanting a maternity test? My friend Dan recently found out he might be a father. I say might because the girl he's been having an off-on relationship with, Kara, is pregnant, and he's not sure if he's the dad. She offered to get a paternity test once the baby is born and doesn't expect any kind of support until they find out if the baby is his. He's on board with that and appreciates that she's not pushing him into fatherhood if the baby isn't his. The issue is that when he was talking to me about it, he also said he wants to get a maternity test done to make sure the baby is hers. Kara is visibly pregnant. We know she's pregnant because she did a maternity photoshoot and posted it on social media, so it's obvious she's not faking being pregnant. We've both seen her in person, too, and she's most definitely pregnant. However, Dan believes that the baby might not be hers. I tried to explain to him that that's not how biology works, and unless she got an embryo implanted in her, then she's definitely the mother. She's a waitress and works for minimum wage plus tips, so I doubt she has the money to afford an embryo implantation. Plus, it's ridiculous to think that she'd do all that just to baby trap a guy who is unemployed and living with his parents at 32. Plus, he's never donated sperm. He's genuinely convinced that the baby might not biologically be hers, despite not only me, his mom, and our other friends explaining that that's not how pregnancy works. He's still insisting on a maternity test and told me that I was being ridiculous and that I'm the one who doesn't understand biology, despite me studying to be an autopsy pathologist, which has required quite literally years of biology classes. I got fed up and called him a senseless idiot and told him to call me when he got his head screwed back on straight. Ever since then he's been spamming my phone and has gotten a couple of our friends to spam me as well, telling me I'm being insensitive and he's just stressed about possibly being a dad. So, am I the asshole for calling my friend an idiot? Tell him that to help with his stress you found a free maternity test stand in a delivery room and see if a baby shoots out of a hoa. Not the asshole. Hope the baby inherits the mom's intelligence. Edit. My hubby thinks he's the funny one. So thanks kindly for the awards to show him the next time we have that debate. All your responses have been a hoot. Not the asshole. WTAF. Not the asshole. I'm legit crying laughing right now. Sorry you have to go through this, tears of joy. I hope for the baby's sake that he's not the father. Not the asshole, but to be honest, I would pay to see a doctor's reaction to being asked to perform this test. I think that we can all see why he's 32, unemployed and still living with his parents. SMH. Not the asshole. Not the asshole. Let's us hope Dan is not the father. We don't need another one walking around. I have to know what is actually theory about how the baby was formed. Let's take it at face value. Somehow it is possible she got pregnant from an egg that was not her own. How does he propose that this happened? But not the asshole. What the hell? Am I the asshole for punishing my son for throwing away my husband's Bible? My husband, 37, and my son, 16, fight a lot, and I tried to intervene, but my husband asked me to stay out of it while he works it out with my son. My husband came up with a bunch of nicknames to call my son. It all started when they fight, and in each fight or argument, my husband comes up with a new nickname to call my son till they fight again or till my son apologizes. Nicknames like dipstick, stone cold embarrassment, assclown, imbecile, dweeb, etc. Since their latest fight, my husband has been calling my son assclown. My son spoke up about how annoying it was and threatened my husband that if he don't stop, then he'll throw away something of his. Days ago, my son had friends over while I was out. Clearly, my husband called him assclown in front of them, which caused a huge fight between them. My husband later called me panicking, saying my son took his Bible after their fight and refused to give it back. I went home and asked my son what happened. He told me my husband embarrassed him by calling him this nickname in front of his friends. I told him I'd talk to my husband later but asked him to give back the Bible. He said he no longer had it because he threw it out. I was in shock. I told him this was offensive to his stepdad and his religion and he should have never resorted to this type of retaliation. He said he already warned my husband and that he could easily go get a replacement from the church. I got mad because this was a line he shouldn't have crossed. Throwing out stuff is never okay. I punished him and took his allowance for the rest of the month. My son argued about how unfair this was and that my husband got away though he started it. I refused to argue because he was just lashing out and not ready to listen. I exited the room, then spoke to my husband about it. My husband promised this all will stop if my son gets properly punished for what he did, and I let him know he got his punishment. But my son wasn't having it. He called his grandmother, my ex-meal, and she tried to come to my home and yell at me, but I refused to let her in. She texted that I was being unfair and just wrong for punishing my son. I replied that he did something worth punishing and no matter who started what, throwing away stuff isn't okay. She kept calling, but that was it for me. I just want to point out that 1. I never agreed to my husband's way of trying to work his issues out with my son, but I got convinced that they both need time and space to be able to get these issues resolved without me intervening. 2. The punishment was solely because he threw the book out. I still am not okay with this whole nickname calling despite my husband saying that it's some form of teasing. I'm 100% on my son's side in this. 3. I did try to find solutions to these problems that kept occurring, and even arranged for family therapy but neither one of them agreed to go. My husband offered to take my son to church but my son refused. 4. Being the breadwinner and working long hours, I'm always tired and struggling to keep everyone satisfied and happy. It's too much pressure to be keeping an eye on every little things in the house and no one is willing to sit down for a heart-to-heart conversation. You are the asshole. You are the asshole. You are the asshole. You are the asshole. Why would you take your husband's side over your son's in the first place? Secondly, your husband sounds like a toxic and abusive adult. Lastly, you're turning a blind eye to abuse. You're allowing for trauma to take place in your son's life. I'm so glad his grandmother is standing up for him. Sadly, sounds like she's the only one in his corner. Nicknames like dipstick, stone cold embarrassment, assclown, imbecile, dweeb, etc. Nicknames are like buddy, pal, sport. Those are insults. You need to learn the difference. You are the asshole and so is your awful husband. Tell him to go read Matthew chapter 5 verse 22. You are the asshole. At what point do you take issue with your husband being abusive to your son? That really needs to be your priority here. Your husband clearly places no value on his Bible or his religion, given his behavior. Do better. You are the asshole so much. Your husband is abusive to your son and you do nothing about that. Those are not nicknames FFS. It's verbal abuse. Your husband is insulting your child on a daily basis and you just ignore that. What kind of mother are you? Throwing away other people's shit is not okay. But your son is a minor who doesn't get the help and support he needs from the adults in his life, not even his mother. So no wonder he is acting out. What else is he supposed to do? Ah yes, the classic move of turning a blind eye to your husband's abuse while punishing your child for their reaction to the abuse. Straight out of You Are the Asshole for Dummies. You are the asshole. First of all, you should not comply with your husband's request to stay out of it, while he fights non-stop with and insults your son. Calling someone insulting and degrading names is not an acceptable way of working out a disagreement with a teenager, especially if you're an adult and authority figure. You allowing your husband to treat your kid this way is not okay. Second of all, you want to talk about being disrespectful to your husband's religion, let's talk about your husband's behavior. Instead of throwing out his Bible, your son should have shown his stepfather Colossians chapter 3 verse 8. But now you must also rid yourself of all such things as these: anger, rage, malice, slander, and filthy language from your lips. Your husband threw out his Bible long before your son did. You are the asshole. You are the asshole. First of all, it's not between your husband and your son. An adult is verbally abusing your kid and you let it go because the bully abuser says, it's between them. Ate you out of your mind? Yes, your son didn't had the best attitude, but I can see it was a desperation moment considering he is being abused. Not to mention it proves how hypocrite your husband is. Because if he followed his own religion as he wants to pretend, he wouldn't be doing this to your kid. I hope your grandma's kid sues you for custody. You are not a good parent and honestly you just opened the bad retiring home route and the no contact as soon as possible route as well. P.S. Mods, I know we have to be civil but please don't delete my comment. Bad parents should be called out on their BS. These are not nicknames, they are insults. You are the asshole. Am I the asshole for treating my stepdaughter like a baby? I truly have no idea if I'm in the wrong here or not. My 39 female stepdaughter May, F20, recently came to live with me and my husband, 38 male. She moved to the States to live with her boyfriend but the relationship didn't work so she came to live with us. She was raised in another country and her mom wouldn't let her stay here for long periods of time so I never got the chance to actually get close to her until now, but we always got along well. Now on to the issue. My husband and her are not that close and my husband travels a lot because of work, I work from home so obviously get to spend more time with her. She is not staying here for free, she helps with some bills, food and whatever she can. I have my own opinion on this but not my child and she doesn't seem to care about it, but as I said, I do spend time with her and we grew kinda close. Just like her, I also moved to the States when I was young and I know I was scared and felt alone. May has mentioned this too plus her breakup. She also has a few mental issues. It's obviously been hard on her so I try to be understanding but my husband thinks I'm too soft on her. It all got worse 2 days ago when May got sick. I had to pick her up from work because she didn't feel safe driving herself home, which I find a very responsible choice. Before picking her up I made her bed so she could just come home and rest. I never do this but she had left in a hurry that morning and she was sick. No, it's not the virus. She was really thankful for it and it literally took me less than 10 minutes. I have also been keeping an eye on her as she really doesn't feel good. When I told my husband about this, he flipped out. He started screaming about how I need to stop treating May as a baby, how she is an adult that should be able to take care of herself, how she only has a stomach bug and how I'm too soft on her. Again, making her bed took less than 10 minutes, having to pick her up didn't interrupt my day in any way. He is really upset at me and has barely been talking to me or her. I don't feel like I did anything real bad but he is her dad and maybe I am stepping up too much. At this point, I really don't know. Am I the asshole? Not the asshole. Next time hubby dearest falls ill and asks you to help change sheets and stuff, yell at him, "You're an adult and not a baby." Pull an Uno reverse on his ass. Let's see how he likes that. Oh my God. How dare you take care of your sick stepdaughter? You bitch. Not the asshole. Sounds like there is a reason her mother didn't want her send her to her father. Or her father is taking his anger at the ex out on his daughter. Either way, he is not being a good dad and is a major asshole. You have done nothing wrong. I'm a stepmom. You haven't done anything wrong. My husband would be grateful if I did all that for my stepdaughter. I think you've just found out why they are divorced, and why the mom didn't want to let May visit. Your husband sounds like a monster. Wait. Being kind and considerate is too soft. Does that mean when my family is out snowblowing the driveway and I make them hot cocoa I'm being too soft? That when my kid hears me bumping around the bedroom, and puts on the tea kettle he is being too soft? Do you do any of these things for him, and does he do them for you? I bet yes on the first and no for the second. Not the asshole but your husband sure is. Yikes. Kudos for being an actual parent to this young woman, since your husband sounds like a nightmare. Don't let him bully you out of treating her, or anyone, well. If screaming at you is common, I'd honestly consider whether you want to stay married to him. You and May both deserve better. Edit. Clarity, removed a silly joke. Not the asshole dump your husband and keep your stepdaughter. Not the asshole. You should be more angry that he flipped out and was screaming at you? That is not a normal or healthy reaction. What you did was kind and reasonable. He was neither of those things. Something else must be going on here. Has he ever screamed at you before? You need him to give you a more sound, logical explanation for this behavior. You need to make it crystal clear that him screaming at you is an absolute red line and you will not tolerate it again. Yes, adults bicker or get angry, but they don't flip out or scream over this kind of stuff. Makes me wonder if he regrets letting her move in and this is how he's handling it instead of being honest. Good luck. Not the asshole. I always change the sheets for someone who is unwell in my home. Nothing makes you feel better than clean sheets and a warm blanket. Am I the asshole for refusing to go with my 16-year-old daughter to her father's funeral? My ex-husband, my daughter's father, passed away 2 days ago at the age of 36. My 16-year-old daughter begged that I go with her to the funeral because she said she doesn't know anyone there and needs my support and guidance. I refused because I did not feel comfortable and then seeing my former in-laws. It's just not worth the pain. Plus that her grandparents and her younger uncle that she adores so much will be there, so that is good enough. I also offered to have my brother drive her there and return her home later, but she refused and kept begging that I go with her. I told her no and that I have my reasons and that's it. She unloaded on me yesterday calling me bitter and selfish, and said that my hatred for her dad is still there and is disgusting. I was really hurt. I had an argument with her but didn't punish her for what she called me because she's grieving and is processing her father's passing. I just cut the argument and told her to go upstairs. She went inside her room and refused to come out for lunch and dinner. My boyfriend tried to stay with her and get her to eat but she refused. He told me later that this is obviously something my daughter is not dealing with properly and suggested I just go to the funeral because if I don't then there will be lasting resentment from my daughter. I went to bed but couldn't sleep over this. I feel like just because she wants this doesn't mean I just go with it. I never push her to do anything she doesn't want to do. Edit just a minute for those who are suspecting that there's a girlfriend there that I don't want to see. No, nothing like that. My ex-husband never dated after me because he was dealing with multiple chronic conditions, which is the main reason for our separation. My daughter never wanted us to divorce and she blamed me when the court granted me custody because her dad was not able to care for her. I don't hate my ex-husband, he's my daughter's father and losing him is devastating for me, that is why I wanted to grieve in peace. As for my in-laws, they resent me for initiating divorce in the first place and accused me of abandoning their son. You are the asshole. That's your 16-year-old daughter and you're just not willing to support her doing the hardest thing she will ever do? You're not a mom. You just gave birth to her. You are the asshole. I understand that it will be hard for you, but it's harder for her. Her dad is dead and she needs her mother. Step up. You are the asshole. This is not about you. This is about your daughter, who wants your support at her other parent's funeral. What other moments will you miss because you refuse to be in the same place as her paternal fault? Graduation? Her wedding? How many times in her 16 years have you forced her to choose between you? Get over yourself and go to the damn funeral. You are the asshole. You don't want to go because you would be uncomfortable and the pain from seeing former in-laws. You're an actual joke. Your daughter has just lost her dad and she wants the only remaining parent there to support her. I wouldn't be surprised if she doesn't want to speak to you after that because honestly that's just so selfish of you. I refused because I did not feel comfortable and then seeing my former in-laws. It's just not worth the pain. You told your daughter that her need for guidance and support during this tough time is less important than your own comfort, so no wonder she's pissed at you. Better she deal with the death of her father on her own than you having to have an awkward conversation with former in-laws, I guess. You are the asshole. You are the asshole. Part of being a parent is being uncomfortable so your children can be comfortable. Info. What kind of illness did he have, and did you divorce because he was ill? Why? Is it more shame that you're avoiding by not facing his family? Because if so, that's selfish. What you could do to avoid a scene with your ex-in-laws is reach out to them, maybe the young uncle, or whoever you're on best terms with. Give your condolences. Explain that your daughter is begging you to go to the funeral to support her, and ask if it's all right with them to attend to pay your respects and be there for their daughter. Throw in a helping hand, even if you can manage it. It sounds like you have a lot of unresolved grief and guilt about this, but being there for your daughter is more important. I'd highly recommend therapy for both of you. It sounds like a lot to process. Look, let's be honest here. Your ex-in-laws aren't going to notice that you're there. Take your daughter, get her to sit up the front, and you sit down the back, out of the way. His funeral is not about you. It's about her. Grow up and be a mother. You are the asshole.